TM01 Mega Punch. The first TM in Pokemon history delivers exactly what its name promises, a powerful normal type punch with 80 base power and 100% accuracy. You can find this staple in Mount Moon or purchase it at Celadon Department Store for 3,000 Pokemon dollars. When your Pokemon uses it, the animation is hilariously basic, merely sliding forward while the opponent flashes, leaving players to imagine the devastating haymaker. Most trainers appreciate this straightforward solution that requires no complex strategy beyond hit things until they faint. Sometimes simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, especially when that simplicity involves a giant fist to the face. TM02 Razor Wind. Why would anyone use a move that does nothing for an entire turn? Well, that's the question that Razor Wind forces trainers to consider. After whipping up a Whirlwind, this normal type attack finally delivers 80 power with 75% accuracy on their second turn. Team Rocket apparently values this questionable strategy, as you'll find it in their hideout or at Celadon for 2,000 Pokemon dollars. Despite sounding impressive, its payoff rarely justifies the setup turn that leaves your Pokemon vulnerable. Many young players learned a valuable life lesson through this move. Things with awesome names are often disappointingly impractical. In the practical world of competitive battling, Razor Wind is essentially bringing a dramatic monologue to a gunfight. TM03 Swords Dance. Revolutionary among early TMs, Swords Dance introduced the idea that sometimes not attacking immediately could lead to greater victory. By sharply raising attack by 2 stages, this normal type status move potentially doubles physical damage output. During Team Rocket's takeover of Silphco, you can find this tactical gem amid the chaos. Watching your Pokemon perform an elegant dance with invisible swords raises questions for armless creatures like Diglett. Like, do they dance with their mind? Now, unlike many first-generation techniques, Swords Dance has maintained its competitive relevance throughout the franchise's history. For trainers who understand delayed gratification, a few moments of interpretive dance can transform ordinary Pokemon into devastating wrecking machines. TM04 Whirlwind. Possibly the most pointless battle move ever enshrined as a technical machine, Whirlwind forces wild Pokemon to flee, something the run command accomplishes without wasting a move slot. Trainers who explore Route 4 will find this questionable gift sitting unguarded, probably because even Team Rocket recognized its limited utility. Against trainer Pokemon in Generation 1, the move simply failed entirely, making it doubly useless. With negative priority and only 85% accuracy, Whirlwind couldn't even reliably accomplish its underwhelming effect. It's the Pokemon equivalent of installing a screen door on a submarine. Technically it's functional, but practically absurd in almost every situation. TM05 Mega Kick. Mega Punch not strong enough for you? Well, try its beefier cousin Mega Kick. This normal type attack packs 120 power with a trade-off of 75% accuracy. Brave trainers who conquer Victory Road will find it, or those with deep pockets can buy it at Celadon for 3,000 Pokemon dollars. Watching legless Pokemon like Magnemite execute powerful kicks raises anatomical questions the game politely ignores though. Against most opponents, Mega Kick provides a neutral damage option that hits significantly harder than early game alternatives. Next time your Pokemon misses at 75% accuracy during a crucial battle, remember that probability occasionally enjoys watching trainers throw their Game Boys across the room in frustration. TM06 Toxic. Koga's signature strategy comes packaged in TM06, one of the most strategically significant status moves ever created. By inflicting increasingly damaging poison that persists through switching, this poison-type move creates a ticking time bomb. Defeating the Fuchsia City Gym Leader earns you this devious technique, complete with 85% accuracy and the ability to bypass Substitute in Generation 1. The animation shows merely purple bubbles, never conveying the devastating health drain about to unfold. The irony isn't lost on players that one of the most devastating competitive strategies involves essentially giving your opponent food poisoning and waiting patiently. Some young trainers learned that victory often comes not to the strongest, but to the most patient sadist willing to watch opponents slowly suffer. TM07 Horn Drill. One-hit KO? Yes, please, thought Game Freak while creating this controversial TM. This normal type move instantly feints any opponent when it connects, except those at higher levels. Hidden in the Rocket Hideout or available at Celadon for 2,000 Pokemon dollars, Horn Drill seems amazing until you notice its abysmal 30% accuracy. Even more absurdly, homeless Pokemon like Jigglypuff can somehow execute this technique flawlessly. Despite its unreliability for serious competition, it occasionally created dramatic moments that justified its existence. It's the lottery ticket of battle strategies, almost certainly a waste of a turn, but absolutely thrilling on those rare occasions when it connects and instantly turns the battle. TM08 Body Slam. Few Gen 1 moves balance power and utility as perfectly as Body Slam. Packing 85 power, perfect accuracy, and a 30% paralysis chance, this normal type attack creates nightmares for opponents. Lucky travelers aboard the SS Anne might discover this coveted technique. The animation merely shows Pokemon briefly overlapping, a G-rated interpretation of crushing enemies beneath body weight. Normal types like Snorlax turn this into a devastating stab attack with crippling side effects. Any trainer whose final Pokemon became paralyzed by Body Slam understands true helplessness when their Pokemon can't move for 3 consecutive turns. No participation trophies exist in competitive play when your Pokemon is too paralyzed to participate. TM09 Takedown. No pain, no gain could be the motto for TM09 Takedown. While delivering solid 90 power with 85% accuracy, this normal type move forces the user to suffer 25% recoil damage from the impact. Corporate infiltrators will find it within Silphco, or shoppers can buy it at Celadon for 3,000 Pokemon dollars. The underwhelming animation shows a slightly forward movement, completely failing to convey the bone-crushing collision supposedly occurring. Bulky Pokemon can leverage this attack effectively, though the self-damage adds up in extended battles. Takedown perfectly embodies the "I'll get hurt as long as you get hurt" worse philosophy that 8-year-olds find deeply compelling, a questionable life lesson disguised as a battle strategy. TM10 Double Edge. For trainers who find takedown self-destruction too mild, Double Edge offers an even more reckless alternative. Delivering impressive 100 power with perfect accuracy comes at the cost of punishing 33% recoil damage. Team Rocket apparently appreciates this self-destructive tendency, hiding the TM in their hideout. When used, attackers become glass cannons that sometimes knock themselves out while finishing opponents. The name perfectly describes its function, dangerous to both user and target. Trainers who believe defense is overrated love this approach that turns battles into explosive sprints rather than tactical marathons. Nothing says strategic depth quite like mutually assured destruction. TM11 Bubble Beam. Misty believes in the devastating power of bubbles, and after defeating her, you'll receive TM11 as proof. This water-type technique delivers 65 power with perfect accuracy and a 33% chance to lower speed. In Gen 1's broken special system, Bubble Beam targeted often weaker special defense while simultaneously slowing opponents. The game never explains how bubbles damage solid rock monsters like Onix, raising serious questions about Pokemon physics. Among the game's more ridiculous concepts, weaponized bubbles somehow manage to be both utterly absurd and surprisingly effective. Perhaps the most important lesson here is that presentation matters less than results. Even silly-looking attacks can win battles. TM12 Water Gun. Among the most straightforward attacks in Pokemon, Water Gun exemplifies function over flash. This water-type move offers modest 40 power with perfect accuracy for trainers exploring Mount Moon. The simple animation shows water streaming across the screen, perfectly matching its underwhelming nature. Early game water types like Squirtle rely on this technique for reliable stab damage before better options become available. While not impressive on paper, Water Gun exploits key weaknesses against fire, ground, and rock opponents. Sometimes basic approaches work best, even if "I'll spray you with water" ranks just above "I'll splash you" on the intimidation scale. It's annoying, but rarely devastating unless you're specifically vulnerable to getting wet. TM13 Ice Beam. Freezing your opponent's solid never goes out of style, which explains why Ice Beam remains relevant across generations. With 95 power, perfect accuracy, and 10% freeze chance, this Ice-type move offers reliability with devastating potential. Shoppers who venture to Celadon department store's roof will discover this versatile technique. Dragon types particularly fear this attack as it's one of few reliable counters to otherwise dominant Dragonite. The game never explains how creatures like Jigglypuff generate freezing temperatures, adding to Pokemon's biological mysteries. For trainers who appreciate occasionally winning through sheer luck when opponents get frozen solid for 5 consecutive turns, Ice Beam represents the ultimate combination of consistent damage and occasional hacks. TM14 Blizzard. When Ice Beam isn't dramatic enough, Blizzard brings the entire winter season to battle. Boasting impressive 120 power and 10% freeze chance, this Ice-type attack sacrifices reliability with 90% accuracy. Explorers of Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island might uncover this powerful technique. The underwhelming animation shows mere white particles, hardly suggesting the howling snowstorm supposedly engulfing targets. Indoor usage raises practical questions like, did Silphco employees need special weather protocols for Pokemon battles? Trainers who prefer overwhelming force to precision love this high-risk option that quickly turns battles around, assuming it doesn't miss at the worst moment and leave you questioning your life choices and battle strategy. TM15 Hyper Beam. The nuclear option of Gen 1 arrives in TM15, combining incredible 150 power with 90% accuracy. This devastating normal-type attack forces users to recharge next turn unless it scores a knockout. Gamblers can purchase it from Rocket Game Corner for 5,500 coins. In Generation 1, skipping recharge after KOs made it disproportionately powerful on offensive Pokemon that could secure one-hit knockouts. The simple beam animation fails to capture the apocalyptic energy blast supposedly being unleashed. Physical powerhouses like Tauros use this to bypass physically defensive opponents with unexpected special damage. Hyper Beam represents the Pokemon equivalent of all-in poker. Win immediately or sit helplessly vulnerable while your opponent counterattacks. TM16 Payday. Now, who says violence can't be profitable? TM16 Payday introduces the concept of battle capitalism with a move that scatters coins after hitting. This normal type attack delivers mediocre 40 power while generating pocket change collected after victory. Travelers on Route 12 might stumble across this unusual technique. Though technically generating profit in wild battles, the payouts make minimum wage jobs look lucrative by comparison. The animation briefly shows coins appearing on screen, which trainers presumably scramble to collect mid-battle. Where exactly were Pokemon hiding these coins inside their bodies, we may never know. Payday represents the capitalist approach to battle. Why not monetize violence while you're at it? Gordon Gekko would be very proud. TM17 Submission. Fighting type coverage comes with a painful twist in TM17. While delivering solid 80 power with 80% accuracy, this technique causes 25% recoil damage to its user. Victory Road Conquerors earn this technique, or those with 3,000 Pokemon dollars can purchase it at Celadon. Particularly valuable against normal types like Snorlax, Submission provides crucial super effective damage against otherwise dominant tanks. The unfortunate name raised eyebrows among players who later learned its alternative meanings, though Game Freak clearly meant the wrestling definition. Trainers who believe victory justifies self-inflicted injuries appreciate this high-impact technique, even if both Pokemon look like they've been through a wood chipper afterward. No pain, no gain taken to its logical conclusion. TM18 Counter. The playground logic of whatever you hit me with, I'll hit you back twice as hard forms the logic of TM18 Counter. This fighting type move delivers double the damage of any physical attack received that turn. Celadon Department Stores stocks this mind game inducing technique for strategic shoppers. Significant limitations include only working against physical attacks, always moving last, and failing if the user faints from the triggering hit. Bulky Pokemon can use Counter to punish predictable physical attackers with their own strength. It's the perfect equivalent of why are you hitting yourself. Childish, but devastatingly effective when opponents ignore the obvious trap. Sometimes the best offense is turning defense into unexpected punishment. TM19 Seismic Toss. Mathematics meets wrestling with TM19 Seismic Toss, which always deals damage equal to the user's level regardless of type or defense. This fighting type move bypasses conventional battle calculations entirely. Travelers on Route 25 might discover this uniquely consistent technique. The game never explains how tiny Pokemon like Jigglypuff generate enough strength to suplex opponents several times larger, adding to Pokemon's physical impossibilities. The animation completely fails to show the spectacular throw supposedly occurring. Against high defense opponents, Seismic Toss provides reliable damage uncomplicated by type matchups or stat calculations. In a game dominated by random number generators, sometimes knowing exactly what will happen feels like its own reward. TM20 Rage. Among Gen 1's most peculiar moves, Rage starts pathetically weak but increases attack each time the user takes damage. Found on Route 15, this normal type move initially delivers just 20 power. The crippling Gen 1 implementation forces Pokemon to continue using Rage until the battle ends or they faint, an involuntary commitment few trainers appreciate. The animation shows merely a slight forward movement, failing to convey the increasing anger supposedly building. Theoretically beneficial for defensive Pokemon in extended battles, the move locking mechanic renders it nearly unusable in practice. Young players quickly learned that anger issues rarely lead to victory, an unexpectedly valuable life lesson from a Pokemon game. TM21 Mega Drain. Energy Vampirism enters the Pokemon world through TM21, which heals the user for half the damage it deals. This Grass-type move delivers modest 40 power while providing simultaneous offense and healing. Defeating Erica at Celadon Gym rewards trainers with this sustainable technique. Small energy orbs visually transform from opponent to user, effectively showing the health drain. Grass types facing favorable matchups particularly value this approach that extends battlefield longevity significantly. Essentially, it's the Pokemon equivalent of eating while fighting. It's questionable etiquette, but undeniably practical multitasking. When offense and defense merge into a single move, efficiency-minded trainers take notice regardless of the move's modest base power. TM22 Solar Beam. Patience yields tremendous power with TM22, requiring users to spend a turn taking in sunlight before unleashing 120 power on the following turn. This Grass-type attack combines high damage with significant vulnerability. Explorers of Pokemon Mansion might uncover this photosynthetic technique. The charging turn leaves users completely exposed, and opponents can easily switch to resistant Pokemon during the obvious telegraph. The game never explains how non-plant Pokemon like Charizard gather sunlight, adding to Pokemon's biological impossibilities. Essentially saying, hold on, I need to charge my phone during an emergency, it's technically logical but impractical under pressure. High risk should yield high reward, but Solar Beam often delivers disappointment instead. TM23 Dragon Rage. Draconic Anger apparently manifests with mathematical precision, as Dragon Rage always deals exactly 40 damage, regardless of type, level, or defense. This Dragon-type move ignores conventional battle calculations entirely, and gamblers can purchase it from Rocket Game Quarter for 3,300 coins. It's particularly valuable early game when most Pokemon have less than 40 HP total. This technique delivers consistent results there. The flickering flame animation hardly conveys the supposedly unstoppable fury being unleashed. Dragon Rage raises fascinating questions about draconic emotion. Is it impossible for dragons to be slightly or extremely angry? Always exactly 40 damage suggests emotional consistency is a dragon's most defining characteristic. Who knew that fearsome creatures were so predictable in their rage? TM24 Thunderbolt. Lightning strikes with reliable precision through TM24, offering 95 power, perfect accuracy, and 10% paralysis chance. This electric-type move balances power and consistency perfectly. Defeating Lieutenant Surge at Vermilion Gym rewards trainers with this versatile technique. Electric types like Jolteon transform this into devastating stab damage while risking paralysis with each hit. The game never explains how Pokemon generate electricity without self-electrocution, adding to the series' scientific mysteries. Targeting the often weaker special defense while hitting water and flying types super effectively makes Thunderbolt a competitive staple. When opponents miss with their use of Thunder at crucial moments, you can enjoy their frustration while your reliable electrical assault continues uninterrupted. Sometimes consistency outvalues raw power. TM25 Thunder. When subtlety isn't an option, Thunder brings the entire storm to battle. This electric-type move delivers tremendous 120 power and 10% paralysis chance, but sacrifices reliability with 70% accuracy. Power plant explorers might discover this high-risk technique amid abandoned machinery. The animation shows lightning striking from above, raising questions about indoor usage, like where exactly does lightning originate inside buildings, but I digress. The tremendous damage potential comes with the significant downside of missing nearly 1/3 of the time. For gambling-inclined trainers, Thunder offers huge rewards when connecting and utter frustration when missing. It's the competitive equivalent of a roulette wheel. Sometimes the highest power option isn't the best choice when victory depends on consistency. TM26 Earthquake. Few attacks achieve the perfect balance of power, accuracy, and coverage that Earthquake delivers. This ground-type move brings exceptional 100 power with perfect accuracy and no drawbacks. Corporate infiltrators will find it within Silphco during Team Rocket's takeover. Super effective against 5 types, poison, rock, fire, electric, and later steel, Earthquake provides unmatched versatility. The screen-shaking animation hardly conveys the devastating geological event supposedly occurring. Indoor usage raises practical questions about structural integrity. Silphco apparently constructed their headquarters to withstand regular seismic events. Even Charizard reconsiders life choices when facing this ground-shaking nightmare that leaves flying types as the only true safe counter to its widespread destruction. TM27 Fissure. One-hit KO moves reach their geological extreme with TM27 Fissure. This ground-type technique instantly feints any opponent it connects with, regardless of health or status. Defeating Giovanni at Viridian Gym rewards trainers with this high-risk strategy. With pitiful 30% accuracy and ineffectiveness against higher-level or flying-type Pokemon, Fissure often wastes turns rather than winning battles. The simple line animation hardly suggests Earth splitting open to swallow opponents whole. Somehow, the battlefield reforms perfectly after swallowing opponents with no lasting environmental damage. For risk lovers, Fissure offers potential instant victory balanced by overwhelming probability of complete failure. The Pokemon equivalent of buying lottery tickets with your battle strategy. It's occasionally brilliant, but usually wasteful. TM28 Dig. Underground strategies take center stage with TM28, which combines travel utility with combat functionality. Users spend a turn burrowing underground, becoming invulnerable to most attacks before erupting for 100 power with perfect accuracy. Cerulean City visitors might acquire this dual-purpose technique. Uniquely functioning as both attack and field move, Dig creates helpful shortcuts through cave systems while providing battle utility. The game never questions how fish Pokemon like Magikarp burrow through solid ground, adding to Pokemon's physical impossibilities. Against poison, rock, fire, and electric opponents, Dig delivers super effective damage, assuming they don't switch during the obvious telegraph. The Swiss Army knife of TMs equally useful in battle and exploration. TM29 Psychic. Nearly broken in competitive play, TM29 delivers 90 power, perfect accuracy, and 30% chance to lower special. This Psychic-type move dominated Generation 1's metagame completely. Saffron City visitors can obtain this overpowered technique that faces almost no effective counters. Bug-type moves were its only weakness, but they were all pathetically weak and typically paired with Poison, which was weak to Psychic. The animation shows mere psychic waves, never conveying the mental domination supposedly occurring. In the broken special stats system, Psychic simultaneously attacked both offensive and defensive capabilities. For Alakazam and other Psychic types, this move created statistical nightmares for opponents. Generation 1's closest approximation to pressing the win button in competitive play. TM30 Teleport. Possibly the most useless battle move ever immortalized as a TM, Teleport has exactly one battle function: fleeing from wild encounters. This Psychic-type move accomplishes what the Run command does without wasting a move slot. Route 9 travelers might find this questionable technique. In trainer battles, selecting Teleport forfeits your turn for absolutely no benefit, making it tactically worthless. Its only redeeming quality is overworld utility, allowing instant travel to the last Pokemon Center visited. If Pokemon can teleport anytime, why allow capture in the first place? Essentially a fire exit that only works when there's no actual fire. It's technically functional, but completely useless during emergencies. Some TMs simply exist to teach players about opportunity cost. And there you have it, the first 30 technical machines from the original Pokemon games explained. From the straightforward power of Mega Punch onwards, these reusable moves shaped competitive play and casual adventures alike. While later generations would expand the TM catalog dramatically and eventually make them reusable, there's something special about these original techniques that introduced players to the concept of customizing their team's movesets beyond level-up learning. Sometimes the most powerful tool isn't the strongest attack, but rather the right move for the right situation, a lesson these TMs taught an entire generation of Pokémon trainers.